I believe it must have gone down to the bottom of page 184. V'umnam achaim kulam tzorich sheyamusu. So he's been talking here about the redemption, and in discussing the redemption, the coming of the Mashiach, the bringing of the Jewish people and the world to a state of perfection. This will all then lead into Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. And we discussed a lot about the relationship between body and soul, what happens with the soul after death, what happens with the body after death, what happens with the reunification of the soul and the body during Tchias HaMesim, and some of the things that are going to be happening after that as well. So now the author here is going to be going into some of the more details of resurrection itself. Page 184 at the very bottom. And this paragraph starts, V'umnam, Hachaim kulam tzarich sheyamusu. Those who are alive at the time of resurrection will need to die. V'yichzeru li'afa l'fachois shachas kodem tchias hamesim. And they will have to have their bodies be returned to dust, even if it's only a very short while before the resurrection of the dead. V'yachar ken yeshuvu v'chyu. And then afterwards they will return and come back to life. Oisam haruyim l'kum b'tchiyah. Those among those who were living at that time who merit being resurrected. So according to this, what he's saying is that even though I believe it was last week we spoke about the fact that when a person dies, the body decays, generally speaking, as it says, rekiv atzamos kino, something like that, that the decay of bones is jealousy. And the Gemara says it's jealousy which causes the bones decay. But someone who is free from jealousy or any of the other negative characteristics, meaning a person who has made himself righteous and is free from the effects of the Yetzer Hara, such a person's body will not decay, so that the righteous remain intact even after death and even after burial. And there are many different instances of situations where the righteous were found to be intact, even though they had been dead for many years. We spoke about how this particular Gemara, we didn't go into details. Mordechai had mentioned something about this, but it made me recall a specific Gemara which talks about how gardeners were digging around in the yard of Rav Nachman, I believe.
When was this?
In Talmudic times.
Nothing modern day.
This particular event is from the Talmudic times, but there are other things which are modern day as well.
It was a highway that was built, and there was a holy tzaddik that was buried underneath the highway. And a lot of
in the way of the highway.
So they had to move, so like spies or whatever, Jewish spies, they came and they like did this secret mission to take him out and bury him somewhere else. And when they opened it, it was fully preserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are other recorded instances like that in relatively modern times, in Europe and in North Africa and other places. Holy righteous individuals who, for whatever reason, had to have their bodies exhumed and buried elsewhere were seen to be relatively intact for people who had been buried for hundreds of years.
Shomer HaBrit is one of them, right? If you're Shomer HaBrit, you don't decay.
Yeah, but not only that, but that's one of the very important ways in which a person preserves his righteousness. The particular story in the Gemara is quite odd. It's quite particular. It's quite strange, really, but that's what's recorded. That these gardeners were digging in the ground and they heard a voice from under the ground, and they went and they called Rav Nachman, who they were, it was Rav Nachman, unless it was Rav Nachman who was the one who was buried, I don't remember. But in any case, as it turned out, the rabbi who these gardeners were working for ended up having some type of a conversation with the dead remains of another rabbi that was buried there somewhere in his property, and they were discussing this notion. And I believe it is that actually Gemara itself, which is probably what the author here is referring to. But I'm pretty sure the Gemara there itself says that even though the bodies are intact, they'll nevertheless have to undergo decay before resurrection. There's another very strange Gemara which talks about a particular magician or wizard who was digging around in a Jewish cemetery trying to take clothing from the bodies, and he opened up the grave of a particular Talmudic sage there, and what happened was this sage reached out and grabbed hold of the wizard's beard, and the wizard couldn't get loose, and he started screaming and crying for help, and another rabbi came by and ordered the rabbi in the grave to let the wizard's beard go. So he did, on the command of the other rabbi. Gemara says, next year the wizard came by and opened up the same grave, trying to get the clothing of this rabbi. And the same thing happened. The rabbi reached out, took hold of his beard, and wouldn't let him go. And this time the rabbi came back, and he ordered the rabbi to let go of the beard, but the rabbi wouldn't let go. He ordered, wouldn't let him go this time. So he had to bring a pair of scissors, the Gemara says, and he cut off the wizard's beard. And he was freed. It's kind of a strange Gemara, but apparently, there was something about magic and witchcraft and wizardry, necromancy, which involved, enclothing oneself with the garments of the dead, and that would somehow envelop the person with the spirit or the power of the dark side, and in this way he could do types of magic and witchcraft and things like this. So this magician was looking to get some clothing off the dead. And I suppose he was quite surprised when he found this rabbi take hold of his beard, but he must have thought, wow, if I could get that dead person's clothes, that would probably be very, very powerful. And the implication is he came by next year, maybe it was the rabbi's yahrzeit, and he came back to try again, and which would explain why the other rabbi also came back, thinking that maybe the wizard, anticipating that wizard might try and do the same thing next year, and so he happened to be on the spot, and but this time the rabbi wouldn't let him go because he realized this wizard was very wicked. So the only way he could get loose is if the rabbi, like I said, cut off his beard, which was number one, very embarrassing and belittling to the wizard, but two, it was a way of kind of saying, may his force be cut off.
His powers are gone.
Yes, his powers are gone. So in any case, two very, very strange, difficult to understand Gemaras, but nevertheless discuss this idea about how bodies can remain intact and to a certain extent, in very extreme examples perhaps, even maintain some type of vitality. I don't know exactly what's going on there. The Gemara might be metaphorical, right? It could be that the person was burying in the grave and the rabbi metaphorically reached out his hand and took hold of his beard, by which the Gemara means to say somehow he was able to freeze, neutralize this person from digging around and tampering with the dead, until the other rabbi came by and was able to break the spell or the force that was going on. But whatever it is, there was a vitality. There was some type of vitality to this dead body that was there. It turns out, according to this, or what I'm describing until now, that even those bodies of the righteous who remain intact will nevertheless need to be temporarily decomposed in order to be resurrected. And the same thing is true not only of those who are dead, but whose bodies remain intact, but it applies to even those who are alive at the time of resurrection as well. They will have to die instantaneously, and those of the people who are alive at the time of the onset of resurrection that will merit the resurrection will therefore merit to be resurrected. But in either case, the body will have to decompose and be resurrected anew. Why is that? In the case of the righteous, whose bodies remain intact, or in the case of the other people who are alive at the time of the resurrection, why is it the body has to undergo this type of decomposition? The answer that's given is because even though the bodies of the righteous, because of their holiness, remain intact, and even though the people who are alive at the time of resurrection are living at a time where the world has been greatly elevated, still, until that actual transformation takes place, the world as we know it is going to be on a much lower level than the world to come. So that even those who have an elevated status will nevertheless have to undergo this transformation from the world as it is now until in order to prepare them for the world that will be. And therefore, in either case, the body will have to decompose, and then people will be resurrected. Then they'll come back to life. Meaning those, oisam haruyim, lukum b'tchiyah, those who are in fact befitting to come b'tchiyah, to be resurrected. So you see from here, not everybody will merit resurrection. Not everybody will merit resurrection. And there are plenty of souls who will not merit to be resurrected. Either the souls will continue to exist independently, but they will be deprived of being in a body, or they will implode back into the existence of God and cease to exist. But at least initially there will be this cognizance of there being a resurrection and there not being a part of it. There are verses which talk about the shofar blasting on the great day of judgment. And the commentaries discuss what this great day of judgment is. Some are of the opinion that it's referring to the resurrection. On the day of resurrection, there will be a great judgment, and this will herald in the new era. Others point out that that does not seem to be the case, because by the time you get to resurrection, all judgments have taken place. The bodies have been judged in the grave, according to whatever happens to the body. In the meantime, the souls that went into the soul realm were also judged. By that time, right, it's already determined who will be resurrected or not, such that there should be no great day of judgment at the time of resurrection. Any judgments that need to take place will have already taken place. And therefore, they say that this great day of judgment is either referring to the day that a person dies, or Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Kippur, or the day of the coming of Mashiach, but not resurrection. There are other commentaries who try and explain how this reference of the great day of judgment can apply even to resurrection. One of the answers is that it's referring to the fact that God will initially resurrect not only the righteous, but the wicked as well. So that everybody will be actually resurrected. The righteous will be resurrected to everlasting life, but the wicked will be resurrected to see everything that's about to take place with the realization that they are not going to be a part of it, and then they die. So that's one way of explaining how, even though resurrection involves a post-judgment, it'll still be called the day of judgment. So that, according to that, not only the righteous will be resurrected, but everybody will be resurrected, at least initially. Then the righteous will continue to be resurrected and the others not. Another very interesting way of reconciling this question about how is it that the day of resurrection can be referred to as the day of judgment, when presumably all of the judgments that are necessary have already taken place. So another interesting explanation is based on what we just saw here in the text, which is that it's true that for most people, judgment will have already been passed, because the person died, the body is judged in the grave, the soul is judged in the soul world. But what about all of those people who are alive at the time of resurrection? That's the reference to the great day of judgment. On that day, everybody's going to plots and die. Of those who die, some will decompose very quickly and be resurrected. Others either will not, or they'll be resurrected for the purpose of seeing what they miss, right, and then die. But there'll still be the judgment, therefore, will apply to the judgment of the people who hadn't died yet, did not undergo the judgment associated with death, and therefore will be judged as they are alive during the time of resurrection to determine whether they who are alive at the resurrection will ultimately get there, or won't. Yeah, what were we going to say?
You said that bodies will be judged in the grave and the souls will be judged in the soul world. Could a body and a soul be judged differently? Like their actions in this world were performed together.
Yeah, what I mean, but to say, but it's true. I mean, I was being a bit superficial about it, but or simplistic about it. But yes, the judgment is basically interconnected, like you're saying. But rather, what it means is the body and the soul are both judged insofar as they operated as a unit. But the judgment, the type of judgment of the body, is different than the type of judgment of the soul. Insofar as this is physical and this is spiritual. So the judgment of the body, I meant as a byword for the actual death, burial, decomposition, the breaking apart of the material aspect of the body's indulgence in the material world. And the soul's judgment is in the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Didn't the Zohar write a whole section on butterflies? Why Hashem did butterflies?
What does it say?
That the whole process of a caterpillar starts in the ground and it goes inside a cocoon, and what happens scientifically to the butterfly, to the caterpillar, that the insides come out, and the insides like powder, like dust, and the dust is actually what forms the butterfly. And that the whole process Hashem's basically showing, don't question how I'm going to resurrect the dead when I do it. That was the
Interesting,
concept. The credits to Rabbi Wallerstein, Zachary Wallerstein, on that.
Okay,
I'll tell you more after class.
that very well may be. Yeah, I'm not aware, offhand with the analogy, but I see the point, and the caterpillar then it becomes encapsulated until
completely
dies, and then what?
And then the insides come out.
Yeah.
It's powder.
Yeah.
And the powder is protein that forms the butterfly.
Yeah.
So it has to completely die and then
Interesting.
regain life. So
Okay.
why did Hashem make this whole process? Why did He make butterflies? The Zohar writes
To show the analogy of
also says that if he does the mitzvot just because God commanded, comes back as a moth. Moth is usually dull, one color.
Right.
But if he does the mitzvah out of love, compassion, desire, fear, awe, and all that, comes back as a multicolored
butterfly.
But also, why did Hashem make the creature fly and multicolored? To show that, if a Jew, we're more advanced and we have a godly soul, so when time of resurrection, we're going to come back more of, to change of a caterpillar to a butterfly, such a big dramatic change. What is our dramatic change going to be?
Beautiful. Very nice.
And also it says that not all percentage of butterflies come out of the cocoon. They never make it out. And
so not everybody's going to be resurrected.
And also,
yeah, it sounds very interesting. The only thing about the analogy, it just seems a bit limited, perhaps incorrect, about the fact that the moth dies. The moth can't die, be powder, and then be rejuvenated from its remains. It must be that the worm remains somehow intact, but it goes through a metamorphosis and becomes.
Of the worm or caterpillar is in fact, I think, disintegrated, possibly liquefied, but it is completely reformed into a butterfly or moth.
Oh yeah, but it must maintain its life.
It must.
I heard, like if you
But
open a cocoon, crack open a cocoon.
Yeah.
My father said when I was telling him this the Torah, he said when he was rushed, he opened it and powder came out.
Is that right?
He thought that's it. It died. It was. I told him no, literally, no. That was the process of turning into a butterfly.
I think it's much the same way that if you cracked open a cat, you have a dead cat.
But in any case,
Definitely check out
yeah,
Zohar,
it's a very interesting idea. Sure. I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. Another interesting discussion, a question about this is, we were talking about, is everybody going to be resurrected? So according to this, no, not everybody's going to be resurrected. Only people who merit it. Unless, initially, everyone will merit resurrection in order for those who don't deserve it to see what they're missing out. That's going to be part of their judgment for not earning the resurrection. But what about non-Jews? Will non-Jews be resurrected? Righteous non-Jews. So it's true that the Gemara says that righteous non-Jews have a place in the world to come, but that might be referring to the soul world and not necessarily the world of resurrection. The Midrash says that a day of rain is greater than the day of resurrection. Why? Because a day of rain is good for humans and it's good for animals, but the day of resurrection is good only for humans. A day of rain is good for Jews and for non-Jews, but the day of resurrection is good only for Jews. So the implication is that resurrection is only for Jews and not for non-Jews. But one of the commentaries there, I believe it's the Pre-Torah, says that the Midrash is not to be understood literally. What it means is Jews, people who are dedicated to the service of God. That's what it means, Jews. Generally speaking, non-Jews were idolaters, and Jews were dedicated to the service of God. But the main point here is that a human that a human who is dedicated to the service of God will merit resurrection. According to this explanation, right, it has nothing to do with being Jewish or not. A person could be Jewish and not merit resurrection, and a person could be not Jewish and merit resurrection. It really depends on the extent to which the person is acting Jewish, meaning the extent to which a person is acting in a way which is typically Jewish, that is dedicated to the service of God. A Jew, according to the ways he's responsible for serving God, a non-Jew according to the ways that he's responsible for serving God. Either one, if he serves God, then he can merit resurrection, according to this. Even non-Jews can be resurrected as well. So that when the Gemara says that non-Jews merit the world to come, it's referring to not only the soul world, but actually the world to come, meaning the world of resurrection as well.
Olam Haba is the world to come, which Olam Haba is the resurrection period.
It's not necessarily clear.
So wait, what? Gan Eden and Olam Haba. There's two. I heard.
There's two.
To marry to be in the time of resurrection, I heard that a person has to learn Torah.
Okay.
But if a person just does mitzvot, he just gets
What? Just gets what? Gan Eden?
Gan Eden, or
With heaven, but doesn't actually get Tchias
doesn't
Amesim.
actually get resurrected. That's what I've heard. That to be in Olam Haba, to be resurrected,
You have to.
Every Jew goes to Gan Eden.
You
Why?
have to
Because
what?
he
Not
does
only do the mitzvot, but have to actually learn Torah as well.
Yes, because every Jew does mitzvot, even if he doesn't think he does. He does.
I don't know for sure, but I would have thought the other way around. Torah, which is intellectual cerebral, might be enough to get you to the spiritual realm. But to be resurrected back in the tangible physical world, you would have to have the application of that Torah in the form of the performance of Torah mitzvot, which is this worldly.
But doesn't God want us to be? And doesn't He want us to end up here in the end?
Yeah.
This world to be perfect, and He wants us to end up here, not there.
Yeah.
That's just a holding place.
That's
for
what I'm
now.
saying. I would think that if it's one or the other, Torah might be more appropriate to get a person there, whereas mitzvot would, in addition, be what's necessary to get a person back here in resurrection. Because they're big practical applications. How did you act in this world? If you acted in the way you're supposed to, then you will merit being resurrected back into this physical state.
Like I said, everybody does mitzvot, so everybody did some action or good action. So because I asked the question, if does all Jews go to heaven? He goes, of course. But I'm like, how? If someone doesn't do mitzvot, he goes, everyone does mitzvot. Everyone does good deeds, and so he gets a share to come, a share in the next world.
But he would not necessarily be resurrected.
Yeah, because to be resurrected, you have to be in a righteous status, which is very notorious.
I don't know. I find that hard to believe that a simple God-fearing Jew who doesn't learn much Torah, but he tries to perform the mitzvot. He'll only get like the soul world, but he won't get the world to come. And but in any case,
Life isn't always fair.
if a person,
We're also like judged on our level that we're at, so you can't give like a blanket requirement for every person.
so that even your simple observant Jew who never really had an opportunity to learn much Torah. I mean, it's true. Amar it's Chassid, and Amar can't be pious because he doesn't know Torah. But he, maybe Chassid he can't be. But
Same thing about Ullman. It doesn't say anything about what's it called now.
yeah, but I'm saying, but at the end of the day, he's a practicing God-fearing Jew. I mean, even if he doesn't know what or why he's doing because he learned it, but he does it because he was told. So I don't know. It seems to me that that's a great level. A simple Jew is doing what he's told, and in simplicity and sincerity, he's doing the will of God. And so I think your point was, what about non-Jews? So non-Jews don't have any connection to Torah at all. Yeah. The answer is that's not quite true, because non-Jews also have to know the Torah about what it is that they're supposed to do.
We gotta learn the seven
That's
commandments.
also part of the Torah. Yeah, so that's also part of the Torah. So it might be that righteous non-Jews who merit resurrection won't have the same level as observant Jews do. But like you said, life isn't always fair. But I mean, the point is, the extent to which a person was connected to God, connected to Torah, connected to mitzvot, the person will have that level, have an appropriate level in the world to come. So that in the world of resurrection, there's going to be a hierarchy among Jews, and there'll also be a hierarchy between Jews and non-Jews. I suppose any Jew who merits the world to come is, by definition, going to be on a higher level than a non-Jew, because you've got to be righteous to get there. And for a Jew to be righteous, he would have to do a lot more Torah and a lot more observance to get there than a non-Jew, who, even if he's righteous, would not be having to learn as much Torah and do as much mitzvot. So it would seem to me that while in this world you could theoretically have a non-Jew who's spiritually in a position which is much better than many Jews. For example, you could have a Jewish unbelieving or denying atheist who intentionally transgresses. Spiritually is going to be much worse than a righteous Gentile. But in the world to come, right, you're not comparing the righteous Gentile to a wicked Jew, you're comparing the righteous Gentile to a righteous Jew. So given the fact that the Jew is already starting with the requirement to learn a greater degree of Torah and a greater degree of observance, in that realm of perfection, the observant Jew, the righteous Jew, is probably going to be on a higher level than any of the non-Jews. But they'll still, according to this, have a portion in the world to come, meaning even in the world of resurrection. Okay? So until now, we were talking here about what he says regarding the fact that anybody who's alive at that time will die, undergo decay, and then those who merit it will be resurrected. And I mentioned that this discussion about whether others, the wicked, will be resurrected or not, and if so, only for the purpose of seeing what they're missing. So that, I think, is a continuation here, the next section, in the next paragraph, which is Vihine, B'techia, behold, at the time of the coming to life, Yokumu tzadikim u'rishoim, there will rise both the wicked, the righteous, and the wicked. Ve'rishoim shechatu'u, and the wicked who transgressed, v'lo nishlam behem ha'onish ha'ra'ui, and their punishment, or does it mean purification, was not affected entirely, it wasn't completed. Yanshu az karu'i lehem, they will be punished then as is befitting for them. For what purpose? I guess if it's just punitive, then you're talking about people who have no possibility of redeeming themselves based on the degree of their wickedness. So it would be purely punitive. If it's puritative, then it would be to complete the purification process in order to enable them to join the world to come, resurrection. But I don't think that's the case. But after resurrection, there will be this great day of judgment that I was referring to earlier. That God will judge everyone. The yishpot haruim l'sha'er, the nitzchius v'haruyim le'aved, and God will judge among those who have been resurrected, who will be able to stay in the eternal state of bliss of resurrection, and which ones will be lost. So you see here then, the Derech Hashem goes according to those opinions who say that not only the righteous will be resurrected, but even the wicked. And that apparently is to complete their judgment so that they see what they're missing and then be cut off. Harim la'abed ya'anshu lefi ma shirui lehem, those who are earmarked to be lost will be judged accordingly. Ulevasof yovdu legamrei, and then eventually they will be cut off entirely. V'haruyim l'she'er, but those who are deemed fitting to stay, yisharu b'madrega shetagia lehem kefi hamishpat, they will stay on the level which is befitting for them according to God's measure of justice, ba'olam shechudash, in this renewed world. So you see here again this idea about how even though initially those who are resurrected might be on some type of trajectory, eventually they reach a plateau where that level is commensurate to what they actually deserved. Now I see he talks here about non-Jews as well. V'hine, b'umoy sa'olam, regarding the nations of the world, Yosei bir gadol be'oisam sheyimtzeu b'oiso hazman, there will be a great discerning among those who remain alive at that time. Oisam shekefei mishpat elyon yihu uyim lichliya, those who, according to divine judgment, will be deserving of destruction. Yishammedu becherev ubedever ubechol minei anoshim, they will be destroyed through sword, There's that word cherev, which we had this morning, right? The sword. Cherev, ubedever, and with pestilence, ubechol minei anoshim, or with any other different types of punishments. But those of the non-Jews who are deserving of being spared and saved from all of this because of their righteousness, yinotzlu v'yisharu, they will be spared and they will be saved. V'yakiru be'emes, and they will then come to know the complete and full truth. V'yazvu elileihem, and they will depart from their idols. V'yishta'abdu liYisrael, and they will become subservient to Israel. That's interesting. He's saying that those who merit remaining in the world to come will depart from their idols, implying that even non-Jews who are idolatrous can nevertheless merit the world to come. The Ramchal is of the opinion of, like those I was saying earlier, who say that the non-Jews will have a role of resurrection. What I'm surprised here in the Ramchal is to see that that would apply even to the non-Jews who are idolaters. If a non-Jew is righteous, meaning he's a Noahide, believes in God. Yes, Noahide believes in one God and feels obligated to do the laws for non-Jews in the Torah. He's a righteous Gentile, and he should certainly, based on what I explained earlier, there's certainly every reason to think the person should be merited resurrection. But here he goes so far as to say that even those who are idolaters will also merit. So this might imply that if a non-Jew was an idolater because they didn't know any better, but they nevertheless were good people, moral people, then that could be a basis for including them into the world to come. I'm surprised about that one.
Anyone who could have been good before Abraham. There was no monotheism before him.
Right.
So why didn't that count?
Some people say Zoroastrianism is older than Judaism. A lot of people.
I've heard that before. Before too. I argued with a guy about it. We didn't really get anywhere.
Mm. But in any case, another possibility is that he's referring to, maybe he's not really referring to. That's why I was wondering what it says in English. Maybe he's not referring to idols. Maybe what he's gods, meaning Jesus, or the specific tenets of Islam, which differ from that of Judaism. So that these non-Jews who are not Noahides, they're not explicit Noahides, but they're not idolaters either. They believe in one God. It's just that their take on things is skewed because human beings like Jesus and his followers, or Muhammad and his disciples, kind of changed the meaning of the Torah and tried to adapt it based on their man-made conceptions about what rules non-Jews should live by. Those people will be corrected. Did you find the English?
Yeah.
What does it say? About the non-Jews departing from their idols or their gods.
To the nations of the world, great selection will be made. Those who deserve to be rescued will be saved and will survive, and they will recognize the truth and abandon their idols and become subservient to Jewry. It will be their pride and glory to be subject to the Jewish people and serve them, as they will realize and know that through this they will attain as much as they can accept of the holiness and the light of Hashem. Now the whole world will become drawn to the worship of the blessed Creator, and there will be no idolatry at all in the world.
It's basically the people who drop their religions.
So, fine, but what I'm seeing here, though, is the concept that even idolaters could be resurrected. And I would have thought that the non-Jew had to at least have been a righteous Gentile. But in any case, let's try and finish this off before we have to break today. Those who deserve and it will be for them a position of glory to serve Israel. And to help them, to serve them. And as far as they recognize that in so doing, it is through this venue that they will get the light and the glory of Hashem. And therefore it will turn out the entire world of the resurrected community will be drawn after the service of God. There will no longer be idolatrous worship in the world. And this is what was said by the prophet Zephaniah. I will transform the nations into speaking one language, that is, the language of monotheism. And it says, on that day, the day of resurrection, God will be one, and also he'll be recognized as one by all of the resurrected nation of humanity as well. It's interesting. I was speaking to a non-Jewish person I know over the phone not too long ago, and she said something to me about my being so fortunate that I'm a member of the chosen people. And I said to her, well, God loves all of his children, anyone who is righteous and sincere. And she said, yeah, but you guys are different. That's what she said to me. I was a bit embarrassed, but she perhaps accepted more wholeheartedly what's being said here than I myself. And she that was the feeling I got. Like she was saying that she recognized the value of Israel, and that she viewed her purpose in life as being one of supporting Israel, and through supporting Israel, she fulfills her purpose in life.
She can always get on board though if she wanted to. What's the stuff?
She could convert if she wanted. You mean? Yeah, she's not interested in converting.
But that's the thing. But then why be upset that you're not there?
She wasn't upset. She just, she was very matter-of-factly, even surprisingly so, very matter-of-factly saying, like, the Jews have one role, non-Jews have another role. I, as a non-Jew, recognize my role, and I'm happy about it.
I'd always wondered why, after kind of Moshiach, when truth is known, why anybody would continue to not be a Jew if conversion were an option.
Right, but at that point it won't be. Yeah. After those who have been found worthy are prepared and deemed worthy of receiving this eternal reward of resurrection, everyone according to his level, after which time the entire world will go back to a state of nothingness. That's interesting now. It'll go back to its original state, and water will be mixed with water. In the meantime, the righteous who have been earmarked for eternity, God will cause them to remain according to his word in a spiritual state, like ministering angels, without their needing the physical world. They still won't receive the full measure of the goodness which is coming to them. Until after the world has finished its state of being in this kind of tohu vohu. The world will then come back and be reformed in a new way, in a way which is best for a world that will be eternal. Then the righteous will come back into the world and they will dwell in it forever. So very interesting. Deriving benefit from the true goodness of God. Everyone according to his level. So he seems to be envisioning a scenario where after resurrection, the world will then go into this state of desolation. The Rambam, we said, would say that after resurrection, the bodies are rewarded, the souls go into the soul world, and it stays that way. But the Ramchal is saying, no, after resurrection, the world will go into a state of desolation, and then after the desolation, people are going to be resurrected again, brought back to life into that new world. So I'll be honest with you, this is the first time actually seeing this opinion. that after resurrection there will be continuation, but only after desolation. According to the Rambam, the continuation in the spiritual realm after the physical world goes back to desolation. According to what the Ramchal is saying here is, even after resurrection, the world will go into a state of desolation, and then the righteous will be brought back into this world once the world itself is resurrected.
Because they're waiting on top to come down.
And yes, they're waiting.
I heard too.
Yeah, but it's not only that they're waiting like the souls are waiting to be resurrected, it's after they're resurrected, they're again put aside and wait until the world is reformed. And then they're resurrected. Yeah. All right, because we're short on time, we have to absolutely let you guys go. If please hurry to the next class.